I'm standing here with Elise Bernhardt, who is the CEO and president of the Foundation for Jewish Culture.
That's right.
What a spectacular night. Congratulations, Mazal
Thank you
tov.
so much.
For people who are not familiar with the foundation, give me a 30-second summary.
We support artists and scholars who are exploring the Jewish experience, and we hope that that will better our communities and the society at large.
Can all the artists in the room please stand up? Because all the artists and the scholars who are here, please stand up, because we wouldn't be doing any of this without you. I like to say we support the obsessed. And I believe that the people who we support are the people who are incredibly so narrow-focused in what they do that they get to achieve things that none of us could ever achieve.
For his invaluable contributions to the field of visual arts in the Jewish community.
For her vital, courageous contributions to modern Jewish history and Holocaust studies.
For her ambitious, visionary leadership of the Jewish Museum.
For his inspired and strategic leadership in the field of Jewish philanthropy.
For his stabilizing work, a pioneer of cinema verite.
The Foundation for Jewish Culture is proud to present Mark Podwal,
Deborah Lipstadt,
Joan Rosenbaum,
Jeffrey Solomon,
Albert Maysles, with the
2011
Jewish Culture Achievement Award.
and Sandra and Leon Wiener Award for Philanthropic Leadership, New York, New York.
2011
Jewish Culture Achievement Award, New York, New York.
For an artist, each work is often instilled with doubt. According to Ben Shawn, there are no guideposts, no maps, no geography to tell the artist that he or she is on the right path. When the Metropolitan Museum first purchased my work, the director of 20th Century Art advised me, "Mark, you've got to get out of this Jewish rut." Creating art primarily on Jewish subjects is, of course, limited. However, for me, it certainly has not been a rut, it's been a passion. Over the years, I've tried to imaginatively interpret and faithfully transmit our heritage through visual narrations. It's a wonderful privilege to be included among the honorees tonight. Thank you for saying that I've been on the right path.
We shouldn't forget the role of noble failure. In Jewish life, we are too busy not going oops. So oops to something called the Foundry, because had the Foundry not failed, Reboot would not have succeeded. Oops to something called the Israel Experience, because if we hadn't learned the lessons of blowing $19 million on something called the Israel Experience, we wouldn't have had the success of Birthright Israel. And then finally, please. And in closing, I want to use the words of that famous Jewish philosopher, Jack Welch, who said, "The problem with the world today is people want to come out for the second act, for the second bow, while the world is waiting for the second act. Please, let's provide that second act." Thank you.
I have the great pleasure now of standing with one of the honorees tonight, Jeffrey Solomon. First of all, congratulations, Mazal tov.
Thank you, Mark.
Jeffrey, what's it mean to you, the Foundation for Jewish Culture, and what does the fact that they're giving you an award mean to you?
Well, the foundation has been doing an amazing job for many, many years, and so it's a privilege to be part of their work. And for me, Jewish culture is, for so many people, a doorway into Jewish life, and that's what it really means.
You know, I don't mean to embarrass you, but I'm going to tell you anyway to your face. You are obviously respected for the work you do, but everybody says you are also one of the loveliest people in Jewish leadership. and you should know how much you're appreciated. And from that perspective, I want to ask you, Jeffrey, as you have been watching the development of American Jewry over the last number of decades, can you tell me where you feel we are now? What about a Jewish life today really thrills you, and what gives you the most concern?
What thrills me the most is the young innovators who are absolutely changing Jewish life by their definition, not these old folks like us. And it's so exciting. And I wish the organized Jewish community would appreciate and catch up to the leadership they're giving.
Jeffrey Solomon, Kol Tuv v'Hatzlacha, all great success to you.
Thank you so much.
This is a well-deserved honor. We're very proud of you and happy for you.
Thank you very much.
Jeffrey Solomon.
Thank you.
I'm standing with two very special people, two people who are doing marvelous work for the Jewish community, Josh and his mother Diane Troderman, both of whom have organizations that are making a contribution to Jewish life. Josh is doing J-Choice, which is helping young Jews understand the importance of tzedakah. And Diane Troderman has been involved in so many ways in enhancing Jewish education. But I'm asking you now, Diane, here you are, Foundation for Jewish Culture. Tell me what brings you here.
Well, first of all, my friends, I have to say, and the honorees, the second thing. But I'm a supporter of the Jewish culture. I think that's the way that we can attract more Jews. It can't just be up here. Yes. We've got to be doing it from here, and I think that's what this organization does.
That's lovely. Josh, why are you here?
First and foremost, Jeffrey Solomon is one of the honorees tonight, and I'm a huge fan. I love Jeff's work. He's always been so nice to me, and it's nice to acknowledge people that have helped you along the way. So that was the main reason, and the other is similar to my mom's reason. The arts is very, very dear to my heart. I'm a musician as well and a writer, and I feel like if we don't support the arts from a Jewish perspective, who else is going to?
Actually, we met, Jean-Claude and myself, we met Al in 1961, 50 years ago. We were living in Paris. My friend engineer, Bulgarian born Mitko Zagorov, was designing fabulous light camera that Al should carry around to filming invisibly. Jean-Claude loved that Al was filming all the time. We make so many trips together, so many times in the rooms in hotel, and sometimes Al was saying, Father Jean-Claude, I like to film you in the bathroom. Jean-Claude, why? Because probably we can use it. And Al, marvelous lives we have together. Thank you, Al. Thank you so much for everything you did for me, Jean-Claude. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christo and Jean-Claude. As I've been sitting here at the table, I've been thinking, oh, what a difference this evening has been from my early childhood experiences, where being brought up in Boston in a climate of anti-Semitism, I remember coming home one day with my brother, who was 6 at the time, and I was 11, and he had to tell my mother, I can't play with Jamie anymore because his mother says I'm a Jew boy. And almost every day, some Irish kid would come up to me and say, I'll meet you outside. And it was a fight, fist to fist. And now, I've spent 50 years now making movies where not only I, but everyone who sees my films becomes friends with the people on the screen. And I must say also, additionally, that it's been such a wonderful evening sitting next to Belle. Especially because I'm making a film of her and her life as a grandchild of Shalom Aleichem. Elie Wiesel wants me to make a life story film of him, which I hope to make. So suddenly I'm getting into Jewish films. I'm so thankful for the honor that's been given me and for all the work that the foundation is doing. It's just great to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm standing now with another one of the honorees here at the Foundation for Jewish Culture, an extraordinary woman, an extraordinary writer, Deborah Lipstadt, who is probably recognized as the foremost authority on Holocaust deniers and other issues of the Holocaust. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you very
Mazal
much.
tov.
Thank you.
And all of us who've watched your work and thrilled to your work, we know how well-deserved this is, so we're happy for you.
Thank you.
May I ask you, first of all, what's it mean to you to be honored by the Foundation for Jewish Culture?
It's a tremendous honor when I look at the people with whom I'm being honored, and I look at the people who preceded me in being honored. It's a great honor, and I'm almost humbled. I'm humbled by it.
So I want to ask you one quick substantive question.
Yeah.
As you look at the American scene today, and as you look at what's happening in Europe, does the apparent rise of anti-Semitism in any way, as someone who has written and had a historical perspective, do you worry that the anti-Semitism that is in Europe really hasn't come here, but we see it, some little bits of it on college campuses? To what extent does Deborah Lipstadt worry? To what extent do you feel that there is no reason at the moment for the Jewish community to be up in arms?
I think the European situation is very troublesome. The European situation, you see real anti-Semitism, outspoken, of a kind we haven't seen in many, many years. I don't see it here in the United States. You have touches of it here and there, but if you look at you mentioned the college campus, if you look at the situation on the college campus, Jewish life is thriving. Hillels, Jewish studies programs, organizational, cultural, it's an oasis. It's an oasis. Sometimes it's difficult. I don't ignore that. But I think by and large, we're lucky in that we haven't yet seen in Europe the situation here.
When you hear people argue in the Jewish community that the anti-Israel sentiment, especially that's expressed in more liberal left-wing university settings, is really a form of anti-Semitism, to what extent does that ring true to you or hollow?
It depends. Some of it is, some of it's not. And I think we have to be very careful in distinguishing. Because if we call everything anti-Semitism, if we call everything that's critical of Israel anti-Israel, we lose any impact. If we keep yelling, "Dear me, the sky is falling," when the sky actually falls, people won't pay attention. So it calls for a sharp eye and a discerning eye and a willingness to acknowledge that sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't.
My last question for you, and you'll understand I'm trying to ask this as sensitively as possible.
Ask away.
Okay. There's going to come a time, Deborah, when there will no more be living Holocaust survivors.
Very soon, very soon.
Again, in terms of the perspective you've had from all your work, do you worry that if there is no longer a first-hand witness account, that the power of the Holocaust and in some way even the memory of the Holocaust will be eroded?
It will be different. I don't know that it necessarily will be eroded, but the knowledge of knowing survivors, knowing people who could speak in the first person singular and say, "This is my story, this is what happened to me," has a tremendous impact. We won't have that. We have videos, we have testimony, we have memoirs, we have films. It'll be different. It may not be necessarily less intense, but it'll be a different situation. We have to recognize that.
How did you get involved in this work?
You know, I just was attracted to it in the sense that this was the seminal event in Jewish history.
Yes.
I spent time in Israel in the 60s where Holocaust survivors were all over the place. I was in the Soviet Union in 72 visiting refuseniks. Somehow I just came to it. I thank God neither of my parents are Holocaust survivors, but it's something that brings me to it, and I've dedicated my life to it. So
you have made an extraordinary contribution to Jewish life, American life. It's an honor to meet you. Kol tuv v'hatzlacha.
Thank you very much.
Deborah
Thank
Lipstadt.
On some level, it's an amazing thing that I'm being honored. In great measure, it's for my academic work. It's also, I know, in talking to the people at the foundation, for my battle against Holocaust deniers, and particularly my battle in a London courtroom a decade ago, one that still reverberates to this day. And I remember that after winning that trial, I was approached by many people and sent emails and telephone calls congratulating me and thanking me. But amongst them, of course, was a large number of Holocaust survivors. And I was just asked tonight before we came in here, how is it going to be different when there are no Holocaust survivors around to tell the story, to speak in the first person singular? And it cast me back to thinking about those days. And I remember something quite specific, and this is the one fact, one aspect that I want to share with you tonight. I remember how uncomfortable I was when survivors thanked me. And all of us like to be thanked. We like to be thanked when we do important things. We like to be thanked when we do things in which we have invested a great deal of energy and effort. But somehow, when they would thank me, I would want to stop them and stop them from thanking me because it made me decidedly uncomfortable. Here was someone who had gone through the worst of what we know of Jewish history, and they were thanking me for having won a courtroom battle. But there was something else, and one day it dawned on me, and it's this that I'd like to share with you. In Jewish tradition, we have a concept of acts of loving kindness, gemilut chasadim, visiting the sick, taking care of the poor, welcoming the stranger. But amongst those various acts, there are others, but amongst those various acts, there is one act that is the highest. It is called chesed shel emet, a genuine act of kindness. It is when we take care of the dead, when we prepare their body for funeral, when we accompany them to the gravesite, and when we fill in the grave. Doing that, it's called Chesed Shel Emet because it's felt that it's at that moment that we are most closely emulating the Almighty. Because we're doing something for people who cannot pay us back in any other way. When we take care of the sick, when we help the needy, when we welcome the stranger, there's a chance that we might find ourselves in that position and people might pay us back. But when we take care of the dead, there's no chance that they will be able to do that for us. And Jewish tradition posits that it's at that moment that we are emulating God's gift to humans, because there's no way we can repay God for the gift of life which he has given us. And I realized that when survivors were thanking me, that I had felt I didn't want to be thanked because I felt that I had been given the privilege to accomplish, the privilege to perform chesed shel emet, this genuine act of loving kindness, the privilege to stand up for those who could not stand up for themselves, the privilege to take care of them, to do for them. And that was the reason it made me so uncomfortable. And I was reminded, and I shared with many of them, the fact that the night after my victory, when I came back to the hotel, there were hundreds of emails, and of course I sat down to read all of them, even though it was the middle of the night. And one of them sent me a verse which said, look up in the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 9, I forget the exact verse. And it was late at night in England. It was too late even to call New York because it was late at night in New York. I called California. I called a friend in California. And she said, congratulations. I said, forget congratulations. Go get a book of Esther and tell me what's in this particular verse in this. She thought I was completely nuts. And what it is this moment in the book of Esther when Mordecai comes to Esther and says, you have to go to the king and you have to tell him that that your people are about to be killed, and by the wicked Haman. And she says, I can't go because I haven't been summoned. And to go without being summoned, I could lose my head. I could be killed. And Mordecai, of course, has no patience for her for saying this. And he says to her a number of things. First of all, he says, don't think that if you don't do this, someone else will do this. And I was reminded of that fact. I thought that if I hadn't fought this man, someone else would have had to fight him. But then he says something else, and actually it happens to be one of my favorite verses in the Tanakh, in the Hebrew Scriptures. He says, Mi odea im la'et kazot higat la malchut. Who knows if not for this reason you became queen? Now, I don't equate being sued by the world's leading Holocaust denier or anti-Semite with being the queen of anything but the courtroom. But I did think, and I think of that especially on this night when you're honoring me for something that I was so proud to be and thankful to be able to do. Who knows if not for that reason, I got the Jewish education that I got. I went to the Jewish summer camps that I went to. I was able to study in Israel. I was able to teach Jewish studies in leading universities. Who knows if not for that very reason, I was given these chances, given all these opportunities to be able to stand up for those who could not stand up for themselves. To have had that privilege would have been sufficient. To have done that, to have accomplish something that has been so heralded, it would have been sufficient. To have all that and to receive this award tonight, all I can say is Kosi Rivaya, my cup runneth over. Thank you very much.
Jim Weinberg, the museum's board chair, and Stanley Schachter, the seminary's vice chancellor, hired me as the director of the Jewish Museum. I had worked within museums and with museums for many years, but I was green at being a director. I grew up in a strongly identified Jewish household, but I had minimal knowledge of all that comprises Jewish culture. So I relied tremendously on the expertise of the museum's curators and the seminary's faculty. And gradually, I grew to not only comprehend, but to totally fall in love with the richness, complexity, and possibilities that emerge from the intersection of art with the Jewish experience in the world. I was thrilled to toil in that fertile field and fortunate to work with an extended family of brilliant and devoted trustees and staff members. With their partnership, we took on ambitious projects from building expansion to unconventional exhibitions, developing a collection that is arguably the best of its kind in the world. For me, it was the education of a lifetime. Many thanks for the inspiration of colleagues and friends and everyone in this room who supports the world of ideas and creativity that exists within Jewish culture.
It's been, in some way, your life's work to enhance Jewish education. For 40 years, I've heard the Jewish community say, we must do a better job at educating our young people so that they will carry the tradition on. Diane, assess for me where you feel we are now. What troubles you the most, and what gives you the most hope in terms of Jewish education as you look at the general American Jewish scene?
Well, first of all, what gives me the most hope is the fact that I think we have the best product going. Absolutely. The values, how to live your life in this very fragile world, to be rooted in Jewish values. And that's the only way to get it, is by understanding Judaism. So what depresses me a little bit about the Jewish world in education, I think we have outpriced ourselves in day schools. We need to conquer that affordability problem. I think we need new ways of thinking about getting to people other than the day school world. It could be technology, online, communicating with people. And you know what? I think in 5 years, when you and I have this conversation, we're going to see a lot of entrepreneurial Jewish education.
I wish you kol tuv v'hatzlacha, good success in all you do. Thank you so much.
Like a merchant ship, strong and wide, gold and oranges deep inside, more than rubies, more than pearls, the one I love. This is a song from Girls in Trouble, which is a song cycle about women in Torah, Midrash, and Talmud that I've been creating for the last few years. And we've released 2 albums on JDub Records, which we're very proud of.
We stand here as part of a younger generation of innovators who are working to create a Jewish world that is meaningful, engaging, and responds to the needs of our community. We did not arise in a vacuum, but into a Jewish world built by a previous generation that was dedicated to these same goals, pushing the Jewish community to engage with and respond to the changing world. John Ruskay was and continues to be a pioneer who stands for many of us as a role model, helping shape the direction of the Jewish world we all live in. UJA-Federation of New York, under John's leadership and in partnership with so many dedicated lay leaders, embodies the tradition of innovation, ceaselessly working to support and nurture a vibrant, inclusive, educated, and engaged community.
As we've been speaking about tonight, artists and Jewish culture play a key role in this meaning building. In 2006, UJA-Federation of New York took the bold step of making a signature grant to create the 6 Points Fellowship for Emerging Jewish Artists because of the institution's belief in the value of arts and culture in contributing to the meaningful Jewish lives of young adults. We're so honored to have had such an amazing partner over the past 5 years, as tens of thousands of people have engaged with 6 Points projects and events. And we've grown to 30 artists in 2 cities, many of whom are here tonight.
For its visionary and generous support of the 6 Points Fellowship for Emerging Artists, the Foundation for Jewish Culture is proud to present UJA-Federation of New York with the 2011 Jewish Cultural Achievement Award Special Citation.
We live at an extraordinary moment in Jewish life. We live in the openness of America, in the most accepting society. There is both erosion going on and renewal. And therefore we have the incredible privilege to say, are we going to be part and work with those who are renewing Jewish life, strengthening our institutions, strengthening the fabric of the culture. So more people will say they want to join with us, not because they have to, they don't, not because of guilt, they have little, but because of what Jewish life provides in terms of meaning and significance and community. That is the opportunity at hand. I know that both our honorees, the young artists, and this room is a room of people that are investing in the Jewish future, in strengthening Jewish life. I hope all of us can work for decades to continue this extraordinary opportunity that faces us as Jews today.
Tell me, if you had to pick the common theme, the thread of tonight for you, what was this?
Well, if I'll start backwards, and the moment for me, of course, was having Christo present the award to Al Maysles, which was
wow, that was a wow,
which was very historic.
Yes.
But I knew Al, but I met Al because Al was doing a documentary about Bel Kaufman, and I met Bel Kaufman because Joe Dorman did a documentary about Shalom Aleichem. And everything's related to everything. Yes. Jeff Solomon helped us start the American Academy in Jerusalem. And Deborah Lipstadt comes from, the very early, DNA of the foundation, which is about scholarship. And so, in a certain way, it all fits in like pieces of a mosaic.
How did you personally become involved with the foundation? What is it that draws you?
I was always interested in artists, and scholars, as I like to say, are equally obsessed. And, I was interested in having Shabbos off without explaining it. So I have been very lucky.
You did a marvelous job tonight, and you should be very proud of the work you did, the foundation as a whole. This was an important statement. I'm thrilled that we were able to show it on Shalom TV.
I'm very glad that you could too.
And I hope we do many, many things together. Kol tuv v'hatzlacha in all your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.